Welcome to the fourth episode of the Back Page podcast. My name is Mark McGoldrick, and in this special podcast series, which is being brought to you in association with the Balmore Court and Motel in Enniskillen, we'll be celebrating the careers of some of Fermanagh's leading sports stars. For this episode, I sat down with Ellie McCartney. The Enniskillen woman is one of Ireland's top swimmers and arrived on the international scene by winning 2 golds and a bronze at the 2023 Youth Commonwealth Games. She has big ambitions for 2026.
The Commonwealth Games are definitely a big target for me this year.
Ellie is based in Limerick, where she trains full-time. Swimming is a tough sport, but she is always encouraged by the support she gets from home.
Nice to see that people actually do appreciate the hard work that goes in, and it's always nice to represent such a small community of Enniskillen and Fermanagh.
Ellie McCartney, welcome to the Back Page podcast. How's things with you?
Things are good here, just kind of in the middle of the season now, so keep training away and keeping things ticking over, I suppose.
It's been a busy time for you with a lot of competitions and events, but how are you finding it?
Good, yeah. The schedule's pretty similar year to year, so often around this point in the year we have a couple in-season competitions and training camps and bits and pieces.
You enjoyed brilliant success at the McCullough International in Dublin recently. I'm sure you were happy with how that event went.
Yeah, it's Ireland's only international meet, so I always enjoy going to it. This year I was in Dublin. There's some good competition came over. Allowed me to really push myself against those other competitors in my main events, and then performed a season best in the 100 breaststroke, as well as competing in some different events. I did the 100 fly, which isn't really my strong suit, but I managed to come away with a silver medal in that too.
To bring you back to the start, Ellie, where did your love of swimming and passion for the sport come from?
I'm not really sure exactly. I remember from a young age I was thrown into swim lessons in the swimming club and kind of took off from there. I was in a lot of different clubs as a young child. We did a lot of sports, whether it be rugby, tennis or anything like that. So at a young age I did a bit of everything. And then we realised I'm actually not too bad at this swimming thing, so kind of narrowed it down and eventually then honed in on swimming and did a bit more of that.
And swimming, like all sports, requires a lot of commitment and dedication. And how important was the support you received from your family in that early part of your swimming career?
Definitely in the early part of my swimming career. Swimming, it's a lot of hours training. You train before school and after school. So we had lots of support from my family. We used to get our breakfast in the car on the way to school, and walking into school with wet hair, I was still eating my breakfast. A lot of sacrifices were made on top of my parents both working full time.
And who would have been the key figures? Who was your early coaches and people that really helped you just develop and get involved in the sport?
Within Enniskillen, one of my main coaches whenever I was younger was Chelsea Wilson. She was an international swimmer herself, and then coached Enniskillen Lakelanders. So she definitely helped me at a young age to really get involved in the sport, whether it was just learning to swim rather than competing. She really helped at those levels.
And when did you decide, right, swimming's what I really want to do, and I'm going to put your full energy and enthusiasm into that?
I suppose during lockdown, I really had to make a decision. Um, at that point, I hadn't represented Ireland internationally. I was very close to making a couple different times, but I hadn't quite reached that level. And then during lockdown, we couldn't train, we couldn't compete, there wasn't anything. So it was then we had to really kind of sit down and decide, look, are we going to walk away from the sport, or are we going to give it another go but make some more sacrifices? So then as things slowly began to open up again after lockdown, I was named a elite athlete, so I was allowed permission to travel, and every day we'd drive to Craigavon because it was the closest pool that was open, and we would have to drive up there every day to go training, and then we soon decided that we needed access to a long course pool, and there was a training centre opening up in Bangor. So because we had the time to think during lockdown, we then decided it'd be best for me to move to Bangor and pursue swimming through a training centre which, incorporates a bit of everything, whether it just be, yes, the swimming part of things, but then the physiotherapy, the strength and conditioning, the nutritionists, all of them are also incorporated in it, so it kind of takes things to the next level.
And you're now down in Limerick at the minute. How did that kind of come about? When did you decide to move down there?
So I moved to Bangor for my sixth form to do my A-levels, and then at the last year of A-levels it came to applying for university because I wanted to do further education. And looking at the different options, I explored going to America. There's a couple of different swim teams over there, and then within Ireland, Limerick really stood out to me. It's a sporting campus, so the way things are based down here is that they offer a sports scholarship. If you're on sports scholarship, you then have access to accommodation, which is all on campus as well. So from where I am right now doing this interview in my accommodation, it's a 5-minute walk to the pool to training, and it's also a 5-minute walk to campus to my classes. So it's ideal for me, and there's nowhere else in Ireland where the pool, college, and where you live is all that close. So for me it suited that way, and not only that, I knew the coach that was in Limerick. I'd spoken to him before. I trusted him, and I knew the group of swimmers that were down there at the moment, and they have quite a high level of success within the whole team, so I knew I'd be in to safe hands and it would be a high level of training.
Do you find it difficult to juggle kind of your training and going to your classes and stuff and your studies, and how do you kind of manage it all?
It can be different at times. I definitely find doing my A-levels the most difficult. But in college, because everything is so close, I'm based on campus a lot of the time, so it allows me to save time in that way. Like, I never have to commute anywhere. And then being on scholarship in the University of Limerick, they offer extra flexibility when it comes to deadlines or assignments or exams. So we have like an academic advisor, so if we ever have trouble managing different things, there is that flexibility, and we do have someone that we can talk to try rearrange things.
And to give the listeners kind of an insight into your life, what is a typical week like for you in terms, like, are you in the pool every day, or how many sessions would you do a week?
So I swim 9 times a week. Each session is 2 hours. And then on top of that, we do 3 gym sessions, which are around 90 minutes each. And then on top of that, we do little half-hour circuits. They're usually just before we start swimming. So sometimes it's with med balls, sometimes it's a bit of core work, things like that. So it's quite intense. It is a full-time job, being an athlete, but no, it's a lot of work, yeah.
That's a massive commitment when you just explain it like that. how important is nutrition kind of in your preparation before an event and then in your recovery after that and just in your everyday life? I'm sure you have to pay real attention to what you eat and drink and everything like that.
Yeah, nutrition is quite an important part. I wouldn't say it's strict, but the key thing for me is making sure I'm fueling myself enough because we are doing so many hours in the pool and constantly burning calories. Like being able to fuel yourself then, I think that's such a key thing for swimmers, and the timing of that as well. Because you are up early in the morning, you have to eat before then to make sure you're going to have your energy to do the session. And then coming out, having something as simple as a shake just to refuel and get the protein and carbohydrates in. But like pasta and rice are my best friends here, just trying to get as many carbs in as possible. I'm quite lucky that as part of my accommodation here, I live with 6 other swimmers. So we're all in one house and we do a meal rota. So one of us cooks for everyone in the house dinner every night. So I only end up having to cook dinner once a week, but then we cook for everyone. So it works quite well because we're all eating the same thing and we're all eating the right things.
That's a good way to work. Do you like cooking?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. It works well here as well. For college students, like it can be a nightmare trying to buy food every day and trying to cook every day whenever you're living with other people as well.
This episode is proudly supported by Belmore Court and Motel, Northern Ireland's original motel offering a true home from home in the Fermanagh Lakelands. From the trails and lakes to cheering on our incredible local sporting talent, we believe looking after what matters. Our guests, our community and our environment is always worth celebrating. Find your perfect stay at motel.co.uk.
There's massive competition in any sport, and especially swimming seems to be very competitive. So is there any kind of professionals or swimmers that you've watched a lot of or analysed to see how they go about their things in the pool and also outside?
I wouldn't say specifically there's one swimmer that I would analyse and look at, because I do different events as well. So I would definitely take parts of different people's habits or people's technique and use that to my advantage. We do a lot of testing down here, so we've actually done it before where I've attached a speedometer to me while I swim and compared it to overlapped it with video, so you can actually see the points at which you're slowing down and then trying to figure out what causes that and just try and reduce any drag so that it does make you faster. So I think as well as looking at other people, using those technologies to look at yourself to then improve things that way.
To me and to everybody listening, that's a brilliant insight. So I suppose for us, we wouldn't realise, but technology, as you say, plays a massive part in maybe developing you as an athlete.
Definitely, yeah. It can be hard as well, being a water sport. It's not like you can just take a video or do things underwater. Not everything's waterproof, so technology's come a long way. There's GoPros and everything that we can use now to use our video analysis and different things like that, and heart rate monitors we're constantly using during sessions, and different parts in gym, whether it be force plates to measure how high we are jumping, or we put little monitors on our barbells so that we can see how fast we're doing our movements rather than how heavy we can lift. So it's focusing not just on how strong can we get, but how purposeful are the movements. So it's not always good being able to move a heavy weight if it's very slow. We want to be able to do, yes, a heavy weight, but be able to do it fast to be able to translate that into a swimming context.
And the detail that you must be going into, your coaches and the team down there must be so dedicated, just trying to help you all improve and reach the best that you can be.
Yeah, there's a team for each athlete here. I'd say there's a team of about 5 people. So there's 3 coaches in the squad, and then on top of that, we have our strength and conditioning coach, our nutritionist, and our physiotherapist. They'd be the main ones. And even things as small as testing then to see our muscle imbalances and weaknesses. Our physio then comes in before our swim sessions and takes us through different strength movements to try work out those imbalances, and then that then translate also into the gym. So it is all very interconnected, and they're a good team that work together well.
And do you try and set targets or goals of what time you'd like to achieve in each? Whenever we read the reports, it's always you're kind of smashing your PB. So I'm sure you set targets on what you'd like to do in each race.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. I know last year, whenever I first came into the season, Swim Ireland had released qualifying times. So that then became my target time. And then kind of once I achieved that, then you move it on. Obviously, a big target is always to improve your best time, but it can be quite difficult because you always have high expectations and you want to PB and things, but it's different depending on the points of training and points in the season that you are. Whenever you are rested, you usually do go faster. So it can be frustrating at times in season whenever you see that you're a couple seconds off your best, but you do have to keep in mind that you're under a high training load at the moment. This isn't the competition where you're necessarily meant to race fast, but it's more for experience and race practice.
I watched a number of your competitions to cover you in the paper, and it's always great to kind of see your name coming up and the Irish flag beside it, and knowing that you're representing your country. I'm sure it's a massive honour for you and for your family to be in that position.
Definitely, it's always an honour getting selected for those teams and being able to wear the Irish cap in multiple different countries at different levels as well. But no, it's always a good experience, and I think the level that swimming is at now in Ireland has really come on, so it makes us more proud to see that we're having an impact to the wider community of Ireland.
I suppose some massive competitions are coming up, and maybe the Commonwealth Games is coming up quickly. Is that something you'd be hopeful to be a part of, and maybe a target for you?
Yeah, the Commonwealth Games are definitely a big target for me this year. I haven't actually been to the Commonwealth Games before. I went to the Youth Games whenever I was a junior, so I'd love to be able to do it. It's always a great opportunity because the Commonwealths are the only time that we can ever represent Northern Ireland, so it's quite a unique position to be in, and it'd be really nice to compete in Glasgow this summer.
And whenever it's obviously, I'm sure the competition to be selected is huge. Like, do you kind of feel a bit of pressure or expectation, to try and make those squads?
Definitely, there is pressure because it's kind of cut dry. You either get the time or you don't, and that's how you're either on the team or you're not. It is a bit of pressure, especially depending on how tight the time is. But I suppose the way I think of it is that if I can get close to the time a long time before I actually need to, then I'll be able to build up confidence and then be able to do it at trials, hopefully.
And you've kind of spoken already about the support you received down in Limerick, but since you maybe started your career to now, do you feel that there's a lot of support available for swimmers and to help them reach the very top in the sport?
Definitely, I think it's come a long way. Whenever I first started swimming, I used to have to travel a lot to be able to train in a 50-metre pool, so it's great to see now that there is a new training centre in Bangor which I can train if I'm ever at home, or there's a couple of 50-metre pools now in Craigavon or different places like that. So there's definitely more accessibility. I know locally, unfortunately, that's not the case, but hopefully that'll change.
And just when you mention it, it's very difficult for local swimming clubs at the minute with the Lakeland Forum being redeveloped. But just what kind of advice would you give to the young swimmers just to continue and make the effort to get through this spell, and hopefully then they'll have the facility to be able to push on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd have advice as much for young swimmers, but more for parents. I think a key part of having a local swim club is being able for kids to learn how to swim. I think that's always the best starting point, and I think every child should do it from a safety perspective. So I think that's what's quite worrying, that there is no local pool anymore, that kids won't be able to learn to swim. But I know from the swim club perspective, I know they have sessions running out of Oma. So I know it's a bit of a travel, but it's great that they're still offering some sort of training for competitive swimmers as well. But it'd be great, hopefully, once this pool's open, that the swimming club then can be at a higher standard and more swim lessons and things like that can occur, and competitive swimming can kind of take things to the next level.
You're a real inspiration to so many people in Fermanagh, and when you have great success and we kind of post it up, you get a massive reaction online. Are you happy to have that support and know the people's following your career from afar?
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see. I know while I'm racing, I don't really like to look at things online, but I'm usually on the phone to my parents and they're telling me, everyone's sending their wishes. But no, it's really nice to see, and it's nice to see that people actually do appreciate the hard work that goes in, and it's always nice to represent such a small community of Enniskillen and Fermanagh.
Maybe for a young person who hopefully is listening to this podcast, how important is it to, when you do decide what sport you want to pursue, to be just really committed and dedicated and keep working all the time to reach the top?
Yeah, I think not every day is going to be easy and you're not going to be at your best every day, but it's more just showing up every day and making sure that you are at every training sessions, and if you're feeling a bit tired, that you aren't just taking the day off. It is coming in and doing the session whether you feel like it or not. It's those moments that matter. Just getting the work done, really. And
it would be remiss of us not to talk maybe about your parents. I know the two of them very well, and they're so proud of what you've achieved, and I'm sure they're just been a massive support to you, and you want to do them proud in every competition that you compete in.
Definitely. I know my parents love watching the swimming, and neither of them were the best of swimmers, so it's great to see that they can enjoy it. And no, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have got to where I am today. They were able to facilitate me being able to train and moving to Bangor and then going to university then in Limerick. But no, I couldn't have done it without them, and I hope that I'm doing them proud anyway.
And looking ahead, there's a lot of big competitions coming up. What would you like to achieve maybe by this time next year? Have you any targets or goals or ambitions that you really want to achieve?
I wouldn't have any specific ones, but it's just always trying to lower my times, really. And then if I can get my times lower, then other things come with it. You move up the rankings and you get close to the qualification time. So it's trying to improve the small things so that it makes a difference on the bigger stage, really.
That was a brilliant chat, Ellie, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. And everybody here in Fermanagh wishes you the very best for the rest of your career.
Thank you.